Hello YouTube, this is Karma Lovelace here with a quick tutorial on how to use the art program Gimp. I've gotten a few requests on my art blog, and a couple people have asked me in person how I make my art on my computer and what program I use and how to use it, so I'll just make a quick tutorial. So first off, you're going to want to start with a new document. I always do the big one here, 16 by 1. I don't know what these are. I don't use them, so I just use a 16 by 120, and I always flip it so that it's vertical and not landscape. So there you got your background. It'll show you right here. The key to art on the computer is layers, layers, layers. So when you can either do over here and do new layer, or you can go over here and hit layer, new layer, and you want it transparent. Because if you're going to sketch, you want to make it transparent. And so let's label it sketch. And you want it to be on top of the background. See, that way if I do stuff, if I just make it disappear, it's gone. But I can make it stay. Okay. So, when you sketch, you are going to want to use one of these tools over here. Okay, so with these tools, I usually use the airbrush tool, because I like the lines that it makes. They're fairly transparent, they're really smooth, and they're really nice. But you could also use the paintbrush tool. I used to use that a lot, but when you use that one, the opacity is really, really dark, and so when you go to outline, it's kind of hard to see. And so if you're going to use that, I suggest you use like a different color. Like I used to use like green or something, because it makes it show up. But anyway, so I like to use the airbrush pen, but that's just my preference. So let's start with a quick sketch. Okay, so I have my thing set so that way when I push plus and minus, it will make my canvas bigger, but if I do that on my Bandicam, it will actually stop and start it. So let's just zoom in. So plus and minus, if you want to zoom in and out. Another thing, if you want to make your canvas size bigger than it already is, just go to canvas size here. And this, if you have it locked, then that means that whatever you have this set as, it'll make this one, or vice versa, they'll connect, they'll talk to each other, or whatever. But if you don't, then you can have this like 1600, and then I can make this one like 1750 or something, and then boom. Now when you go to resize the layers, you could also move this around if you want, but I don't see why you'd want to. When you go to resize the layers, you always want to resize all layers. And if you want to drag it, press and hold the space bar as you are using your pen tool or your mouse tool or whatever it is you use to draw with. So, let's see. When I use my airbrush tool, I always make my size 5, because I don't like it to be too big, but I don't want it to be like too small either, so I like to be able to see it. So alright, let's go ahead and get started on a doodle. Okay, so I like cheated, and I moved that over because I can't draw the other eye ever. So if you ever want to do something like what I'm doing right here, obviously your eye's not going to be facing that direction. So you want to go over here. This is your flip tool. Pachow! It's flipped. And then this is your rotate tool. You can rotate it however you need to. But it looks like it's a little too big, unless I can... There we go. Scale. That's what I wanted to do. Then when you got your layer, it makes it automatically into its own layer. So when you finish that, you want to hit anchor layer. Or you can right click and anchor layer. And that puts it down in here. So there we have our sketch. Now, if you want to crop it so you just have that much, you don't need all that extra white space, you just go to this. This is the crop tool here. You can remove edges or whatever. It's Shift C. Just click and drag. And you can adjust it however you need to. Just tap in the middle or whatever, and there. And that's your image without any extra white space. Okay, so next you want another new layer. So I'm going to get a new layer, and this time we're going to name it lines, because it's going to be our line art, and it's going to go on top. So for the lines, what I always use is this tool. It's called the Paths tool. You create and edit paths, and the shortcut for it is B. The Paths tool is pretty fickle. You have to be very to kind of pay attention to it. Use it. Okay, so the Paths tool, I always start it off at the bottom corner, start with the dot there, and you don't outline like that. No. That's a pain in the butt. Just hit the main points of your drawing. Okay. See how I hit the main points there? It's a judgment call on how you want to do that. But every time you make a new line, every time you hit the dot, it's going to automatically assume you want to connect it to a different area. So I always do the paths separately. So when you get those fixed up, you have these points here. So I got point A here and point B up here. Okay, well I want to go in the middle of this and drag that. See how it's nice and curvy with like the sketch that I have? And you want to do that with all these. Okay, so there you got all that. So the path is all nice and set. So after that you want to go to stroke path. Click that. And then I never want it 6. That's way too thick. I mean, look at that. That's way too thick. No, we're not doing that. So anyway, stroke path, I always use my outside lines at 3. Okay, and then you always want to click a different button. I always click B again, and it gets rid of the path. So that way, when you go to start a new one, it won't try and connect it. And so see how when I get rid of my sketch, I have these really, really nice, pretty lines. And it didn't do it this time. Oh, it did there a little bit. You see right there, it's kind of a little screwed up. Just to make sure you're on your lines here. Take the eraser and just kind of smooth it out. No problem. Now a quick trick here. If you have done that and you have like these two are selected, it will automatically make a new path. I don't get why it does that, but it's really, really handy. So like see, I have those two selected, and that's done right there. I don't have any more reason to have any lines over there. I'm just going to come up here and start a whole new thing. We'll just stroke that, and I always make them 2 if they're inside. That's just a preference of mine. I like them looking nice and thin when they're inside the lines. And sometimes Gimp will do that where it like won't quite stroke the path as much as you want. So just take your paintbrush. There you go. Just kind of fill it in. Another neat little trick, if you have, like say you have your paintbrush and you have it there and you want to make a straight line, hold shift. Ta-da, straight line. But I never do that. I have no need for it. But if you do, hey, there you go. That's how you do that. So with the eyes, I left them last because I have a special way that I like to do them. When I do the stroke path thing, I don't use 2 on these because I like them to be a little bit thicker. You know, because you've got the eyelashes and girls wear eyeliner and stuff. Guys, I mean, you know, makeup's gender neutral. Okay, so I go back to 3 for the top eyelid. I guess you can stroke the path again. It'll probably make the lines thicker. I think it's what it does actually, is it makes the lines thicker. But that's not what I'm about. I'm not about that life. Go. There's a sketch, all lined out. Now I purposefully left out this part and like these little details here because I'm not gonna outline those. I'm gonna do those in just color. Okay, so next step is color. Okay, so with color, again, you're going to want a new layer. Now I do different layers for different parts. So like her skin, it's going to be its own layer. But see, it automatically put it up top. You're going to want that between. I don't know why it's not doing it. There. Just push the little down arrow. So you want it between these two. And truthfully, you don't even really need that anymore. But I'll keep it just in case. I have a color template that I use for her. But there is a skin color template that I have downloaded. I will put a link in the description below to it. Okay, so this is the color template that I have for her. Her name is Sylvie. But if you want, I have this is my skin ref that I have downloaded, which this is really, really cool. All you gotta do is just take the color dropper and whoa, look at all these crazy different colors you could get without having to try and figure it out. It's rad. But I don't need that because I have my own. If you're wanting to do different colors, you're gonna just switch them back and forth. I press and hold, I think it's Control. See, moves that. It's our automatically set foreground, which is this first one. So set background as if you hold Control, and it'll just make it like that. But you can switch it back and forth. You can also switch them back and forth by pressing X. But anyway, okay. So the thing about using Gimp for color, I don't use Gimp for color anymore. I use Fire Alpaca. But the thing about using Gimp for color is, well, let's say you want to use the bucket, which is Shift B. Or you're gonna use click it. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna color in the skin. Yeah, that does not work. Why? Because it is a transparent layer on its own thing. With Fire Alpaca, it doesn't do that. But so if you're wanting to use Gimp for color, you have to outline it first. So let's go here. I always use the pencil to outline the area I want to color. Let's do this. Okay, so now I have all that outlined. Now I can take my bucket and just fill all that. And it looks real nice and smooth. So now her eyes are all filled with that, which is, not what you want. Obviously you don't want her eyes to look like that. So sometimes I'll make a new layer for the eyes, sometimes I won't. In this case I will, just because I am OCD like that. I'm gonna label it eyes. Okay, I always like to have it above the skin. Now when you do this stuff, you see how it's all jaggedy right here? Well, obviously it's not like a jagged line where the whites of your eyes are. So we're going to take the blur tool, make it kind of big, and we'll just do that. makes it look nice and pretty. Nice and smooth. Now when you zoom out, ta-da! Nice and smooth. Now that we have our eyes and our skin, we're going to do hair. So I will add a new layer. And I want that above the eyes because I want her hair to go over her eyes and her skin. Basically the only layer that I want at the very top for right now are my lines. I didn't color in that on purpose, because I want to color that darker later when I do my shading. So there's her hair. Okay, I'm going to go back to the skin, so I can, when I make a new layer, it'll put it right on top of that. I'm going to do her shirt. Shirt. She has a black tank top. Now, instead of actually making that a black tank top, I make it just a little lighter than black. It's like a really dark gray, honestly. Like, see? It's at 8 instead of at 0. So that way it still looks black, but when you can still see the outlines when you look at it. Okay, and now I will go back up to her hair and make another new layer, and we're going to just do a beret. I like to do that one separate for my own personal reasons. So now I've got the base colors. Now it's time for shading. So when you want to shade, like I said, I always use Fire Alpaca because I just love the way that it works better. It works for shading so much better. But we're doing a Gimp tutorial in particular, so I will show you how I like to shade with Gimp. So we're going to go back to the skin. Oops. And we're going to shade her skin. This time I might just disappear. 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 Okay, so I've got her hair mostly shaded with the dark stuff. Now, what I really like to do to give things like this a little bit more depth is I will also shade it with something a little lighter too. Now, I like to do my signature above the lines. that's how you use Gimp. When you want to finish it, you don't just save it. Unless you want to save it and then like work on it later, then you just do save as. But if you want to save the actual picture file, you want export as. Oh, let me get my. Let's just go to pictures for now. We'll do Sylvie Doodle .png because I like the way PNG works, but you can do it .jpeg, JPEG, whatever. And there you go. And now it's saved, and now you can post it wherever you please. Alright, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Bye!